Are you curious what's happening in the real estate market right now for July 2023? Well, let me tell you exactly what I'm seeing, boots on the ground, right now. Hey, I'm Adam D with the Local Connect and KW Realty, and the most common question I get every day is, how's the market? So in this video, I'm going to tell you what's happening here at the Jersey Shore, as well as nationally in the United States. So at risk of beating the dead horse, we are seeing the same market conditions, meaning there are fewer listings on the market again. There is still a lot of competition for the nice condition properties that are on the market. I'm still dealing with a lot of multiple offer situations and buyers competing for the same properties. Interest rates have not gone down at all, and yet I think some buyers have gotten more comfortable with where interest rates are right now, and they're jumping back into the market. We actually are very busy for July, busier than we are in normal markets. Sometimes July could actually be a slow month because of rentals and vacations and stuff like that, and yet we're actually very busy in the real estate market based off of my experience. However, if you read the national headlines, the number of transactions are still very low, meaning the market looks slow because there's far fewer properties selling than there was last year or the year before. And one of the things I want to dig into is, for 3 years now, everybody's saying they're going to wait a few months until the market crashes. I still am not seeing any signs of an imminent market crash or real estate market crash. So let's jump into the numbers. We're going to look at interest rates, the housing data right now for our local area, absorption rates, and some of the current events. All right, so let's dig into the numbers. Looking back at June of last year, 2022, are you seeing the consistent theme? Once again, new listings are down, right? And we have fewer properties going under contract and fewer selling, but they are insignificant compared to the number of, or I should say, fewer listings coming onto the market. And once again, prices are up in Atlantic and Cape May County across the board. They're not rising as rapidly as they were before, of course, but this trend of the last few months has continued with fewer and fewer properties coming onto the market, and that's what keeps this so competitive despite rising interest rates. Now, a lot of times on these numbers, we bounce back and forth between looking at the local numbers here in our local market, United States overall. And one of the reasons I've been bouncing back and forth so much is because the reality is it's actually the same. We're seeing the same market conditions in just about the entire country. Fewer listings, inventory is down even further in 99% of the country. Same thing we're seeing here in South Jersey. Now, I thought this was interesting because we've been seeing this for years now, at least a year, I should say. And now one of the Federal Reserve presidents said, I didn't fully anticipate how much the move in interest rates would convince people not to put their houses on the market. Somehow they didn't think of this. But the reality is that there's fewer and fewer people selling because they don't want to get out of their, let's call it 3% loan and into a 7% loan. So because of that, they're not selling. And this is just a look back at the last 5 to 6 years or so, new listings coming onto the market compared to previous listings. And you can see we are at an all-time low of new listings coming onto the market. So if you're a buyer, very, very competitive. There's very few properties. And if you're a seller, good for you, because it's unlikely you're going to compete with anybody on the market right now. Now, bouncing back to interest rates, you know, we've seen this consistent 6 to 7%. Right now, very high sixes, just over 7, somewhere in that range, depending on loan programs. Don't see any major changes in either direction coming anytime soon. This may just be the new norm, at least for now. All right, jumping back to inventory levels. Here's Cape May County, right? Look how low it is. We are less than 3 months of inventory still. I'd gather that the actual number is even lower than this, because there's some properties on the market that just, let's call it what it is, the seller doesn't actually want to sell, and it's hanging around on the market despite them being able to sell. We have a lot of those, just curious sellers, but continues to go down, right? And same thing in Atlantic County, we're less than 2.5 months of inventory. So very strong sellers market still. And I always like to look back at this. These are the buyers walking through the door, looking at homes for sale right now. The orange line is 2023, this year, right here, right? And so we still are seeing a strong number of showings when you consider the fact how few properties are on the market. If you really think about it, how many people could be walking through the door to look at a house for sale when there may only be one home at most fitting their criteria, right? So this just goes to show when there's very, very few properties on the market, and there's still a lot of showings actually, relative to the number of houses on the market, how competitive this market is. And this is just another look at interest rates. right? Just around 7% right now. Looking back over the past year or so, this graph represents a year. We saw 7% back in the fall. We're right around 7% again. Again, we're not seeing any major changes. What this means for you is if you're a buyer, we're not seeing any major changes in the near future. If you find a home you like, you should probably buy it, right? And if you're a seller, there's still a great opportunity to take advantage of the market here, given the fact that there are so few homes to compete with as a seller. So it's really, really strong market as far as prices go and as far as activity. It is not a busy market in the sense that there's so few properties selling just because of the fact that there's no inventory. So I hope that makes sense. So there's a look at the numbers and exactly what we're seeing in our market here locally at the Jersey Shore. If you're a buyer, I still think it's a very secure time to buy. We're still getting the regrets from all of the people who put off buying the last number of years. And if you're a seller, it's absolutely still a fantastic time to sell. Prices are not increasing as rapidly as they were before, but yet we're still at an extremely strong market. If you need help with your specific real estate situation, I will be more than happy to help. Please click the link below and get in contact today. If you like what you're seeing in the video and the real estate information we put out, please make sure to subscribe to the channel. That way you're alerted of the next video we put out. I'm Adam D with Keller Williams, and I'll see you in the next video.